Yeah. As was saying. Uh, hang on. Let me fix that. Let me fix that. The Access media was acting as if it's the best thing since sliced bread, right? Oh my god, Avowed is amazing. It's amazing. But then when we actually look at the numbers, we discover that Avowed is garnering less than 30,000 players on Steam day one, and people are hoping that, maybe the numbers will grow. But then the weird thing is that Avowed was basically supposed to be the Skyrim successor. And if you are going to be a Skyrim successor, you cannot afford to be pulling numbers this pathetic. It just doesn't make any sense. And to make matters worse, the numbers that Avowed is pulling in are less than the ones that Dragon Age Veilguard was pulling in when it was also being championed as the next big thing, right? Dragon Age Veilguard was pulling in roughly around, if I'm not mistaken, around 86,000 players on Steam at the time. Is it 86? Maybe 60? 80 to 60, somewhere there. I may be mistaken. And those numbers were dismal because the game was $100 million plus production. So you can't be pulling in like numbers in the 60,000s or the 80,000s. You need like serious numbers, right, to justify your investments and stuff like that. Now, what I was trying to say before, that the woke industrial complex, it's less to do with the fact that there are certain laws that have been signed into place, disparate impact theory, DEI mandates that companies have to follow. That is only one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle that also factors into this is the culture itself. I was reading a book lately by J.D. Unwin. J.D. Unwin is an anthropologist. He studied about 86 different societies, and he was basically trying to see what actually led to their rise and what actually led to their downfall. So he discovered that sexual restraint directly correlates with a society's achievement. In essence, he basically says that the more sexually liberated or sexually permissive a culture is, the more it tends to focus on things like instant gratification, short-term thinking instead of being future-oriented. And cultures that embrace strict sexual norms like monogamy and things of that nature, those cultures tend to thrive when it comes to creating timeless masterpieces in terms of movies, art, culture, philosophy. And it also explodes when it comes to creativity and innovativeness in different fields of life, including movies and games and stuff like that. My thinking was so narrow because I thought that in order to get rid of wokeness, the only thing we have to do is to boycott. And then I discovered that boycotts were not enough because of disparate impact theory laws. So you're telling me that DEI was actually signed into law and companies had no choice but to actually follow this stuff. And then I'm like, okay, get rid of disparate impact theory laws and we're good, right? No, not necessarily. The culture itself also plays a pivotal role in how this thing actually gets exercised or something. Now we have to worry about the fact that even if we do manage to get rid of wokeness in its entirety, it still won't be enough to bring back gaming to the golden age that it was before. You know why? So if you look at the current societal state or current societal terrain, it's not looking good, guy. In the States, religion is on the down and out. We have sexual promiscuity left, right, and center. We have people sleeping with 1,000 different men, premarital sex and stuff like that. Everything is just instant gratification. If that's the current culture at the moment, how do you think that translates to the people who are making our video games and our movies and stuff like that, right? You can't expect much, guy. There's a reason why we see these gaming companies jumping on trends like live service models. Why? Because that's instant gratification. They need to make money fast. There's a reason as to why we don't get games anymore that hit as hard as your Metal Gears, back on the PS2, your Silent Hill. There's a reason why we keep getting more sequel. Last of Us didn't deserve a sequel, you know what I mean? And the story became watered down and it wasn't even something that was, I don't know, it wasn't long lasting. It was just a transient thing that's meant to be forgotten. Last of Us 2 didn't even stick that well, you know what I mean? So the cultural landscape does affect our movies and our video games and stuff like that. And J.D. Unwin also happened to mention that cultures that are very strict when it comes to their sexual norms, they tend to be very disciplined and very future oriented. So that's why you're able to get certain products like timeless masterpieces and timeless classics. And the Greeks and the Romans, they had that until they didn't, because they then became very sexually permissive and loose. And that's how their culture basically fell and stuff like that, according to J.D. Unwin anyway. Like, if you have soy boys like Matt Hansen making your Avowed and claiming that's going to be better than Skyrim, like, that's not going to happen, guy. That's not going to happen. The level of storytelling, the quality, it's not going to be on the same level because the people that made that product to begin with were people that came from a culture of discipline. They were disciplined sexually. And they also knew the value of delayed gratification. If you're talking about a game like Avowed that has emerged from a culture of instant gratification, like, you can't be expecting something that's going going to be a classic. There's no way that that's actually going to happen. And another thing that J.D. Unwin mentioned in his book, Sex and Culture, he mentioned something that's a bit scary, and I hope it's not true. But he said that when a culture has reached a point whereby it becomes sexually permissive, that's basically the point of no return. He said that there is no culture in history that's been able to reverse their decline. But when you look back in history, there are cultures that found themselves in a cultural decline. They may not have been able to reverse the effects of the cultural decline, but they were able to delay it. If you take, for example, the Byzantine Empire, when Rome fell, the Byzantine Empire was supposed to follow, but what they did is that they reinforced their laws and reinforced Christian values, and Byzantium was able to last another 1,000 years. We see the same thing with empires like the Qing dynasty in China. After the Ming dynasty fell, the Qing dynasty was next in line, but they were able to actually delay their cultural decline by having stricter laws and reinforcing Confucian principles. And that also bought them some time, like maybe say a few 500 to like 1,000 years or so. So I would say that given the cultural landscape of the United States at the moment, as gamers, I'll say that it's important that we continue to fight back. We continue to vote with our wallets and things of that nature. And we continue to promote and support alternate media. So when the dust settles, that which remains will be a testament to what truly mattered all along. And also not to mention that we actually deserve a culture of game developers that actually... I knew it. It always happens at the most inconvenient time.